Sir Starmer's timid refusal to nationalise failing water companies is a symptom of a government cast adrift. We're going to read into this piece from Byline Times, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Regan Elite here with a piece here from the Byline Times with the headline that Sir Starmer, the Labour Prime Minister, his timid refusal to nationalise failing water companies is a symptom of a government's cast adrift. Starmer's administration has proven itself to be devolved of moral compass or political courage, argues Labour MP Clive Lewis. And we're going to read into his piece in a moment, but just a reminder, if you haven't already, hit that like button and share this across social media so others are notified of this video. Clive Lewis has been someone who is definitely not always towing the line when it comes to his place within the Labour within the Labour Party in itself. He's not someone that's afraid that's also to call out what he thinks is wrong. There have been people from different sides of the House now inside Parliament calling for nationalising the water company. Now, the Environment Secretary Steve Reid has consistently argued, though, that by nationalising the water companies, that we taxpayers would be facing that burden, and they would have to find £600 billion worth of from somewhere to find in order to pay for that cost. Well, I'm here to tell you that we do not have to pay for that. There are ways that we could get round this of having to pay it out of our own pockets. It is folly, it is stupid, and it is nonsense that anybody anywhere should think that having privatised water companies is in our best interest in any way, shape or form. Even before Margaret Thatcher and her whole privatisation nightmare came into power, our water companies were fine. Their water bills were affordable. And our water bills now are ridiculously high, and our infrastructure has not been implemented. We've had situations even last year, even this year, where people have had to queue to get water because of pipes breaking in certain parts of areas. This is England. This is the United Kingdom here, specifically England and Wales, who are privatised. Scotland is nationalised. But we should not have this issue. We should not have any issue when it comes to our water. No one should have to turn on the tap to find no water running or to find that there's no hot water. This should not be an issue. Water is literally a human right, something that we need to live. And the fact that we have to pay extortionate amount of money to private companies whose the number one goal and interest is to enrich themselves and their shareholders tells you everything you need to know about them. And it's an absolute disgrace that they have racked up debts of amounts of debts. And this fault is only because of them. They only care about money. They care about taking your taxpayer money. And this Labour government is getting in the way of doing the right thing, and that is taking these water companies and bringing them back into public ownership's hands. It's high time that these private companies are given the kick to the curb because they cannot do the job that the national government is capable of doing. So the collapse of KKR's planned rescue of Thames Water has exposed something even murkier than the sewage flowing into our rivers. The ideological bankruptcy at the heart of Britain's privatised water model. Thames Water, burdened by £20 billion of debt and escalating pollution fines, now teeters on the edge of a special administration regime. Done the wrong way, could morph into a taxpayer-funded bailout. This fiasco isn't just corporate mismanagement. It reveals profound flaws in the Labour government's timid approach to water reform. One vivid underscored by the narrow technocratic remit of the recent Cunliffe review, in which recently published its interim findings. When Sir Jon Cunliffe, the former Deputy Governor of the Bank of England, was tasked last year with leading the largest review of water sector since privatisation, cautious optimism emerged. Perhaps after decades of catastrophic underinvestment, ecological ruin and public outrage, Labour ministers have finally grasped the nettle. Instead, they ensured that Cunliffe's review explicitly restricts itself to reforms within the privatised regulated model, excluding any meaningful exploration of public ownership despite overwhelming public support. And there is overwhelming public support for this, because for too long people see this system as broken. This deliberate limitation was both predictable and tragic, highlighting Labour's broader political timidity, one born in part of Number 10 and Number 11's unimaginative technocratic approach to governance. The interim Cunliffe report repeatedly admits that decisions and water governance are inherently political. Paragraph 85 explicitly states, only government can set overarching strategic goals, acknowledging the profound systemic issues facing the industries extended beyond technocratic solutions. Cunliffe effectively told Environment Secretary Steve Reeve, this isn't a huge crap sandwich filled with strategic level decisions, and it's due with social backing. That must be a big bite. Keir Starmer's government now faces a stark choice: confront this challenge decisively or continually stumbling from crisis to crisis. This attempted technocratic evasion is likely to leave profound questions unanswered about ownership, accountability, and the very nature of public services in areas of political and ecological crises. The very approach of deeper malaise from paralysed over Gaza to a vancillary stance on welfare. The Starmer government seems adrift, defied by less vision than by caution, and it offers little more than empty gestures towards growth, while quietly discarding long-held principles in itching closer to authoritarianism right on social policy. What we're left with is not leadership, but management, governments by spreadsheets and sound bites devoid of moral compass and political courage. Unsurprisingly, defining ourselves as merely as not Jeremy Corbyn or the Tories has proved inadequate as a governing philosophy. Yet its stronger mandate for transformative change, this was avoidable. The public are hungry for change. On water, opinion has been clear. Consistently, over 80% of the English public support returning water to public ownership. Organisations like Compass, Up Sewage Creek, Icky Clean Water and Highly Mermaids submitted compelling evidence to the Commission, passionately advocating for democratic ownership. A consultation by 38 Degrees saw 88% of 28,000 respondents back public ownership, yet these voices have been systematically marginalised by a government determined to operate within the narrowly enforced ideological boundaries. But despite its deliberate limitations, the Cuff-Line review still manages isolated admissions and privatisation failures, noting how high levels of debt relative to equity have impaired resistance. A polite understanding for decades of corporate looting disguised as financial innovations. It explicitly acknowledges that the regulatory system has largely lost public trust, with Ofwat, the sector's watchdog, considering a fundamental reset is necessary. Yet these admissions mean little if the fundamental flaw, the profit motive distorting a vital public resource, remains unaddressed. Privatisation and consequences are starkly clear. Thames Water was privatised in 1989 and repeatedly plundered by private equity exemplifies systematic failure. Its current crisis was entirely predictable, rooted in decades of financial engineering that enriched shareholders while infrastructure deteriorates. With the KKR withdrawing amid regulatory and political uncertainty, the government finds itself scrambling to reassure markets while avoiding essential reforms. Absolute joke, isn't it? The path forward is evident. Firstly, ministers must urgently expand Clough's remit to include genuine analysis of public ownership models, multilateral, regional, mutual, cooperative, or not-for-profit, and as viable alternatives. Public ownership isn't merely ideological, it's practical, proven across Europe, and essential to aligning water infrastructure with public and environmental interests. It enables long-term sustainable investment free from shareholder pressure, ensuring accountability and transparency absence under private equity. Secondly, if the immediate crisis at Thames Water demands transparency and public accountability, if special administration is needed, it must be conducted openly, overseen by consumer representatives, environmental campaigners, and local authorities. Not corporate restructuring consultants, public oversight could offer a blueprint for lasting structural change rather than just another temporary bailout. Thirdly, regulatory reforms must be radical, transcending and instrumental adjustments. Binding national targets for environmental performance, climate resilience, leaky reduction, and pollution control must be established. And with swift interventions of failure, the regulatory framework should become a guardian of public interest, not merely a passing observer of failure, market or otherwise. And 10 months into this Labour government, the public is no longer passively waiting for Westminster to summon the vision required to tackle this crisis. Initiatives like the People's Commission on the water sector demonstrate rising public frustration with the official inertia. This grassroots-led commission represents communities, campaigners and ordinary citizens stepping into the vacuum left by government and timidity. And although public hearings, leading citizen-led research and inclusive dialogue, the People's Commission embodies precisely the boldness and strategic thinking lacking in official reviews. It's proof that communities across Britain refuse to wait, instead building genuine democratic accountability and transformative solutions from the ground up. For millions of Britons already anticipating droughts and water shortages, water has become a defining political issue, testing democratic accountability, environmental responsibility, and survival itself. And yet, water symbolises something greater: a broken political, economic, and a deepening reconciliation of its dysfunction. More than a policy failure, it represents the catastrophic outcome of a 50-year experiment began by Margaret Thatcher, which promised effectively but delivered environmental damage, financial obituary, and democratic erosion. This project hasn't merely failed, it has left a toxic legacy. The inability of post-third way social democratic parties like Labour, the US Democrats, and their European counterparts to dream boldly, to imagine a radical, better future. As David Grobbeer argued, the hidden truth of our world is that something that we make and could remake differently. If we fail to fill this vacuum with democratic answers, the authoritarian right, through reform or worse, will seize the opportunity. The Thames Water debate vigorously shows the privatised model has already failed. Labour's timely response demonstrates a profound misunderstanding of both the crisis urgency and the public's appetite for genuine reform. If Thatcher lacks a blueprint when privatised water, neither should we wait indefinitely for technocratic details to restore democratic control. Vision, determination, and bold political choices can reclaim water as a public good, not a corporate asset. The public demands and deserves nothing less. The next step is clear, urgent, and long overdue. Bring water home and dare to dream again. And this article was written by, as it said, Labour MP Clive Lewis there. Very, very nice piece there from Clive Lewis, and I agree with that. It is time to nationalise our water companies in England. It is time to bring them back under government control. It is clear that privatisation has not worked. The decades and decades of management has proven that. The debts that are piled up has proven that. The lack of investment in infrastructure has proven that. And the watchdog Ofwat has shown that it's been left to bear and has left there, has not done its job in terms of holding accountability as well. It is time to end this. And however it is being done, it needs to be done not tomorrow, not next week, not in a month, not in a year. It needs to be done yesterday. But what do you guys think? What do you guys make of this piece by Clive Lewis? What do you guys make of the situation around our water companies? Do you believe that our water companies should be nationalised in England specifically? Let me know your thoughts and more on all this down in the comment section below. If you found this video informative or helpful to you, please hit that like button, share it across social media, subscribe if you haven't already, check out Rumble on Patreon for exclusive content, and if you want to financially support me in the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.